Derek, this isn't funny. Derek! Derek! Oh, there you are. Oh, hello, and welcome to another overview video. Derek! Yes, sorry, I was playing hide and seek with Derek for Cyberman, and he made me put this on. Yes, in this overview video, I'll be looking at the Cyberman series, which Big Finish are releasing in May. So I thought this would be the perfect time to look at the Cyberman series. I'm just looking at Series 1 in this video. I'll look at Series 2 in a later date. So obviously you might be a bit unsure whether to pick it up, so this video may help you decide whether to pick up the Cyberman series or not. Before I actually go on to the stories themselves, I thought I'd give you a bit of trivia. Now, I'm not sure if Cyberman 2 followed this same format, but Cyberman Series 1 was recorded as live. Obviously they were rehearsed before they went live, but as a recording they fed in the sound effects and the soundtrack as they were going. I know Fly Me to the Moon was recorded as live, but I'm positive that Cyberman was the only series to be recorded as live. So there's the trivia. So now let's go on to the characters. Now you follow 4 characters within the series. You follow Karen Brett, Liam Barnaby, Paul Hunt and Samantha Thorne. Now Paul Hunt, the best way to describe him is he's like Tobias Vaughan. There's a lot of mystery around his character. You see, the thing with the Cyberman series is it's best to go in cold turkey because there's a lot of mysteries and there's a lot of twists and turns what are thrown throughout the series. So I'm going to keep this overview down to the bare minimum of what I like and what I don't like about the series, because it's best for you to discover all these mysteries and twists and turns what happen throughout the series. So Paul Hunt, best way to describe him, as I've said, is Tobias Vaughan. Fantastic character played by Barnaby Edwards. Now another Barnaby, Liam Barnaby, who is the right hand man to Karen Brett, who gets some fantastic character moments throughout the series, especially in Fear. So there we are. Karen Brett, we see the most of her character in Scorpius as we see her rise to power. And throughout the series we see, little bits of her, but she's most prominent in Scorpius. Now Samantha Thorne, we see a little bit of her in Scorpius, but she becomes more apparent in the later stories and gets a fantastic character reveal in either Fear or Conversion. I think it's Conversion where she gets this brilliant character reveal. So those are the 4 main characters you follow throughout the series. Obviously you follow the Cybermen, but you already know that, don't you? So now let's go on to my least favourite story of this. So at 4th place we have Telos, the series finale. Now this is no means a bad story, I just find it the weakest of the bunch. It is still a good story. Now it's very much a character story until the ship is attacked. Now the story does have some great imagery. It harks back to Tomb of the Cybermen with them going to this thing called the Great Vault. So that's nice. So it's got some nice little throwbacks to earlier Cyberman stories. Tension. There's great tension throughout this story, as are the characters going to make it to the vault, because they're being followed by a cyber patrol ship. And the Cybermen in this are absolutely fantastic. They crush people with their bare hands. It just shows the brute force of the Cybermen, really. And this story, it does sort of finish on a bit of a cliffhanger, and it definitely does set up Series 2 brilliantly. It sets up the direction the series is going to go with Cyberman 2. Obviously I'm yet to experience Cyberman 2, but it's definitely setting up the events to follow in Cyberman 2. So overall it's a good story. It's a nice little character story until the action starts to kick in, and it's got some nice imagery what it creates in your head, with this great vault with all these Cybermen in. So it's very much, if you're a fan of Tomb of the Cybermen, then you're going to like this, really. So what would I rate Telos? I would rate Telos, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's still a pretty good story, but it is the weakest out of the. At number 3 we have Part 2, Fear. Yes, this is where the action really starts to kick in within the series, and this is when tension starts to rise with the whole sort of android plot line, because this is the story where we get to see sort of the android side, because there are obviously the android wars happening and you've got the Cybermen coming into it, so there's quite a few plot threads throughout the series itself. Now this is when tension starts to build as well as action, because we see Paul Hunt and the Cyber Planners starting to manipulate events, so this is very good. But the main focus, the main character of the story focuses is Barnaby, is Liam Barnaby. I was going to say Barnaby Edwards, but it's Liam Barnaby. Liam Barnaby, who gets some fantastic sort of character moments within it. Now what I like about the Cyberman series is we get internal monologues, we get to hear the characters' thought processes, what they're thinking at certain events throughout the series, certain moments, which I really do like. And Liam Barnaby, he had some fantastic moments throughout. I can't remember the actor's name, which is a real shame. But he gets some fantastic character moments throughout. This is very much his story, and we get to see him really take centre stage and really start his character arc off throughout the rest of the 3 stories. So this starts his sort of character arc. Really, now there's a really good plot line about refugees, which is quite imminent to this with the whole sort of thing what they're doing with refugees. So you can easily see this sort of happening to this, you know, in our time with this whole refugee crisis, what we're going through now with this sort of. So it's just like, wow, this could be happening right now with what they're doing with refugees. Obviously they're taking them to processing centres and all that. So yeah, it's very good. I do love the refugee plot line. This is quite creepy when you put it into sort of the context what we live in now with the whole crisis. You're just like, interesting. So yeah, Fear is a fantastic story. I absolutely do adore this one, and I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. Now before I reveal what is at second place, I just want to say a thing what I need to add about Fear is that there is some scenes in that story which I don't think are necessary and just filler. You could argue that they are character expansion moments, with giving the characters a bit of a backstory really, and showing their ordinary life and that, but I just think they're a bit unnecessary scenes. I mean, if you've listened to it, I think you might know the scenes what I'm on about, because it really just takes you out of the whole sort of tension and gripping drama that it is. It just seems to be like, okay, can we actually get on with the actual plot line now? But that's my only sort of negatives with Fear. 2, we have Conversion. Yes, as the title would suggest, it features conversion. What I give away. Yeah, that is honestly one of the most horrifying things you can hear on audio, because your imagination is just creating these sort of gruesome and grotesque images of these people just being converted into Cybermen. So that's quite a nice sort of spine-chilling thing. It's not nice, but it's spine-chilling nonetheless and horrifying. Conversion is a story where it expands on Barnaby Edwards' character Paul Hunt, with giving him a backstory. And he just gives a great performance. I mean, just the start of this audio, you know, it's just gruesome, and just hearing what he sort of went through, and that I'm not giving anything away what happened to his character. But I've got a bit of a theory about Paul Hunt, with the titles that, you know, he's involved in this thing called Project Scorpius. He had Fear for the project. That's the second story, Fear. So I thought he had Fear for the project, and part 3, Conversion. And obviously they went to tell us in part 4. So that's my little theory in that regard. But he gets this great moment, a great little speech about looking into a Cyberman's eyes. What do you see? I just think that's a powerful moment within the story. Just, you know, what do you see when you look into a Cyberman's eye? You know, what do you see? You know, are there any emotions, or is it just blank? I just love that speech within the story. Yeah, Karen comes back into the story again, with her being really, you know, I would say this is the second most political story, the first being Scorpius. Now, this is when the Cybermen really start to feature within the series, because the Cybermen are quite light in the previous 2 stories, but this is when they start to feature heavily within the series, and this is when the Cybermen are in full swing, and this is when everything is starting to come to a head, what would conclude in Telos. So Conversion, fantastic story for Paul Hunt, great speeches, great moments throughout. What would I rate it? I would rate Conversion a 9 out of 10, a pretty solid story if you ask me. One, it's obviously Scorpius. Now, you can listen to Scorpius for free if you subscribe to the Big Finish newsletter, which is highly recommended because you get like 3 episodes of certain stories, which is great. And you get Scorpius completely free if you subscribe until like the end of May. So if you haven't already, check it out, because Scorpius is definitely not a letdown, obviously, because it's at number 1. And you want to try the Cyberman series, and you're not sure whether you want to part with 20 quid just to see whether it is good or not, just check out the free beat of Scorpius and you'll be alright then. And then you can judge for yourself. Now, Scorpius is the most political story out of the set because it builds up the whole sort of Paul Hunt political scheme and all that. You know, right from the off, there is a great mystery. You know, what is Project Scorpius? And what I sort of said to others is, with Scorpius, is think the unexpected, because this story is full of lots of twists and turns. It sets up the series brilliantly, you know, it introduces to the four characters superbly, and I just love the whole interest in this. You know, with it being 70 minutes, you know, you think that it will become a bit stale in places, but the story constantly stays fresh. You know, when the Cybermen do appear, it's one of those gobsmacking moments. You know, they're very 1960s-esque. You know, they just come in quietly, do their business, and then they're off again. You know, we only get like a certain, you know, just a scene of the Cybermen in, and it's just truly a great moment, and definitely a highlight of the story for me. Is they just, you know, shoot somebody and then they're out again. You know, it's literally that. They are just superb in it. They're just back to their 1960s glory, which you cannot go wrong within. And this story does have a great big global scale, or universal scale, because we get to see a bit of the android war. Like I said, this is a great story for Karen, because we get to see her rise to power and become a politician, from being this sort of galactic warrior to a politician. So it's very much setting up her character arc. Yeah, this, as I said, it's a great character story for all the characters, great introduction, and it's definitely a highly recommended one because it's just superb. So what would I rate Scorpius? I'd give it a 10 out of 10. It's just a superb political drama. Don't be put off by the politicalness, because it is, as the series does progress, you know, it becomes less political and more about the Cybermen's plot, basically. So that's really what it is. So what are my concluding thoughts on the Cyberman series? It is a series you definitely need to check out. I've done a bit of maths, and my overall rating for this series is an 8 out of 10. It is a superb series, and I believe that Series 2 is meant to be better than Series 1, so that'd be interesting whether I agree with that or disagree. So yeah, definitely do check out the Cyberman series. It's full of great mysteries and great mystery and great twists and turns. I'm sorry if I haven't gone into depth with it, because I feel that you need to discover this for yourself if you are going to pick up this series, because it has just got some fantastic moments throughout, and the Cybermen are good in it. For what bits they do feature in it, you know, they are back to their 1960s glory. Fantastic characters, you know, especially Paul Hunt, definitely my favourite character of the series. Just the way he is, how he manipulates events alongside the Cyber Planner, just great. And I love the music in this. If you listen to Sword of Orion, you'll sort of know what the music's like. It's sort of that music, but in this series. So yeah, it's a great set of stories, and I highly recommend you check out the Cyberman series. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you on my next video, whatever that will be. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.